Having spent the last 22 years of my life growing up in America, starting at age 15, I've developed a Malaysian-American hybrid accent which I consider one of the more unique ones around, taking into account all factors including the age at which I moved to America and how long I've actually spent here, and the fact I've grown up with American friends and American coworkers watching American TV. So it got me interested in doing a little bit of research on how Malaysian slash Singaporean accents are kind of viewed in general. I was kind of surprised to find some kind of rankings list that said the Malaysian accent is the 39th sexiest accent in the world. I mean, I don't know who created that list. But if we were to just treat the article as a fun article, then 39 out of 190 countries in the world, sorta. Not too bad. Top 20, top 20 something percent. In any case, I came across another article which I thought was fun to read out. So you can hear my Malaysian Singaporean American accent and hopefully have a fun listen. So this article here is from a website called atlasobscura.com, and among other things, the website actually points people to interesting things they can see in many obscure, quote-unquote obscure cities around the world. But let me get to the article right now. I'm going to read this article called Singaporean English is Almost Impossible to Pick Up. Walao! Why can't I speak Singlish? $2 only, this one, a street vendor might say to you in Singapore. A local might reply, Wah! So expensive one. Cannot leh. While this might sound like broken English, it is an example of Singlish, the highly complicated English Creole spoken in Singapore. Its staccato, off-grammar patois is the subject of much bemusement for visitors to the country, and it's almost impossible for outsiders to imitate. Singlish is easy to learn, but hard to execute, says Sai Pogaru, who moved to Singapore in 2001 and is now a citizen. There is a certain flair to language accent. It actually requires lots of practice to sound authentic. Singlish is not just one Creole. It's an amalgamation of many different Southeast Asian dialects and pidgins all rolled up into one. If you haven't heard it, the video below offers a humorous Singlish voiceover for Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And I'm actually going to watch a little bit of it now.
A long time never see Appa, sia. We miss him leh. Want to see him for a while also cannot.
I got method. You come. You see this mirror? Can show you anything one. You want to see what? Show you nice.
Show me Appa, please. Wow, so fast. So sick, still come out like that. Wow, can die one day. Smarty liao.
Then no choice. You go find your limpe.
Huh? What you say?
You not my prisoner liao. Zao.
Huh? You mean I'm free now?
Ya lah, putin.
Oh, thank you. Appa, you wait. I got coming now.
You keep. So so you gotta wait to see me and remember me, huh?
Thank you, you so understand my Appa need me. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was quite hilarious. So, I'm going to continue reading the article. Singlish comes from the mixing of Singapore's 4 official languages: English, Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil. English, now the lingua franca, was brought over by the British during Singapore's period of colonization, which lasted from 1819 to 1963. Following its introduction into Singaporean schools, English began to permeate the streets outside them, and was picked up by the Malay, Chinese, and Indian populations. After independence, the newly formed Singaporean government made the decision to continue teaching in English after identifying that there was a need for a common language in the country. Many British expatriates moved back to England after Singapore's independence. In the unregulated environment following their departure, the English spoken in Singapore became substantially influenced by Malay, the native language, and the other languages brought over by immigrants, Tamil and the Chinese Mandarin and Hokkien dialects. The grammar of Singaporean English began to mirror the grammar of these languages. For example, a modern-day Singaporean could say, "I go bus stop wait for you," to mean that he will wait for you at the bus stop. This phrase could be translated into either Malay or Chinese without having to change the grammatical structure of the sentence. Those unfamiliar with the grammatical structure of these languages, as a result, have a hard time picking up Singlish. Words from the other languages became appropriated into the Creole as well, creating an entire Singlish lexicon that is used today. The word ang mo, for example, is a Hokkien word which literally translates to red hair, but is used in Singlish to describe people of Caucasian descent. The Malay word makan is commonly used to mean food or the act of eating. The Tamil word gundu, which means fat, in its original language is used in Singlish to describe a person who is not very smart. Perhaps the most famous Singlish word is the ubiquitous lah, an example of the language's more playful sensibilities. It is essentially a filler word with no meaning. Lah can be placed anywhere in a sentence, but is often used as a form of audible punctuation at the end. Another popular exclamation is "Walao," or the even more flamboyant "Walao eh," used to express surprise or wonder. One of the many barriers to picking up Singlish is its complicated intonation. English is a stressed time language, which means that some syllables are longer and some are shorter. Singlish, however, is syllable timed, which means that each syllable is pronounced for an equal amount of time, making Singlish far more staccato in nature. Where it gets even more complicated is in the tones. English is a non-tonal language, which means that words do not have particular tones associated with them. Chinese, on the other hand, is a tonal language, in which words change their meaning depending on the tone used to speak them. Singlish retains all the tones of the Chinese words that it borrows, but maintains no tones in its English, Malay, and Tamil words, making it a semitonal language. Wait, there's more. Though Singlish is prevalent all over Singapore, it operates on a spectrum dependent upon the circumstances, making it even harder to trace down. In formal settings, for example, Singlish tends to be toned down to its acrolectal form. Singlish words and grammatical structures are eliminated and only the accent remains. In the day-to-day, however, a more colloquial form of Singlish is used. Pogaru, who moved to Singapore with his family at the age of 8, explains that his ability to speak Singlish only came when he joined the Singapore Armed Forces at the age of 18. Singlish to me was just an accent with a la thrown at the end of the sentence, he says of his opinion of the Creole before joining the army. I didn't think much of it. His experience with Singlish drastically changed in his first year of national service, the 2-year period of compulsory service required of all male citizens of Singapore. I vividly remember an incident in basic military training where my sergeant told my platoon, "You all have 15 minutes, go up and lepak, or relax," says Pogaru. He spent the next 50 minutes trying to figure out what lepak meant and what exactly the sergeant wanted. Singlish was the language of communication in NS. Sorry, let me repeat that. Singlish was the language of communication in NS, and I realized that I would have to learn some new vocabulary to truly understand what was happening. Though Pogaru has worked hard to increase his understanding of Singlish over the years since his time in the army, he's not quite sure he has it down yet. Despite knowing Singlish, I have not been able to impress my Singaporean friends with my attempts to sound local, he says. Guess I just have to keep practicing. So there you have it, an article from Atlas Obscura that talks about Singlish. You know, growing up in America, I don't know how people perceive me when they hear me on the phone or outside when I speak to them. Do they wonder, oh, this guy, he is from Asia? And do they form a bias of some kind of stereotype or assumption of who I am just based on my accent? You know, for once in a while I'll feel a little bit ashamed of my accent, because I believe that it does play a part in people's perception of me, in addition to my skin color, of course, being an Asian guy. I don't know. It's all very interesting, to wonder these things. How does the world perceive me? But then in the end, I think I am quite proud of my background. It is a very unique background, and again, I believe that the accent I have is a very unique product of the combination of the country I was born in, the amount of time I spent there, and how long I spent in my adopted country. Anyway, boys and girls, I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for listening to me. Let me know if you think that if you think the Malaysian-American accent I speak with is something you haven't heard before or have heard before. Alright, take care now.